Let's start with the task 2.2, today's lesson. That is one of the AAQ, AAT AAQ 16 assessment from the AAT website. And of course, like the more we practice the simple question, that will give us more understanding for the exam. And we're not going to practice the same Excel formula that we have done before. So every single question we have on the practice question, that will give you some a new learning every day. So you'll learn something new every day. So if you practice like few question, 4 or 5 question, you will see almost you will be cover most of the formulas we have in the Excel. All right, so let's have a look. Let's read this question first. Task 2.2. In this question, we can see they're saying you are Sam Jones, a part qualified accounting technician. You work for BLM and Co., a business which manufacture and sells zinc. BLM and Co. is owned and run by Brian and Lakmani Moore in partnership. You cover all aspects of bookkeeping and accounting for the business. You have been given a spreadsheet which contain information relating to the budgetary information for BLM and Co. BLM and Co. had originally budgeted to make and sell 5,000 zinc. So that was the plan. That was the plan. So the plan was we're going to make 5,000 zinc in the quarter two, 31st of March 2008. So one quarter means 3 months. So for the next 3 months, the plan was we're going to sell 5,000 zinc. Due to a marketing campaign, however, it actually made and sold 6,000 zinc in the quarter. So maybe because of the campaign, because of the good advertising, we have sold 1,000 more. So the plan was we're going to sell 5,000, but actually we have sold 6,000 zinc. The original budget for the quarter to 31st of March 2008 is the original budget worksheet of the provided spreadsheet. So we have to download the spreadsheet from here, from the, of course, from the AAT website. In the exam, they will give you the link. All you need to do, you need to click the link. The Excel sheet will be downloaded that computer. And anywhere you do the synoptic exam, make sure you have access of the two screen. So if you do the exam and if the provider and the exam center don't have the two screen, that could give you some additional that could take some additional time from you, because if you have a two screen, you can keep the question in one screen and another screen you can actually do the answer. Is very, very important. So let's read the whole thing here. This is information everywhere is same. So you write your initial, the way you save the work, and after that they are saying they only accept this type of work, that is Excel or XLS. So we always keep our work in the form of Excel. So let's read the requirement. As I said, the requirement itself can give you some stress. You see, like the requirement here, number A, we have a lot of thing here. So it looks like there's a lot of things to do, but actually you will see when you read it, it's not much thing. It's just an instruction. It's not even the proper requirement. It's just an instruction what to do. So they'll tell you open that, go to cell number that, insert the percentage there. So they will tell you everything as an instruction, and we need to follow the instruction. So let's have a look. Just quickly read the question, then we'll open the Excel sheet, then we'll see how can we answer from there. The first thing it says, open the worksheet called original budget. So original budget, there will be a worksheet, and that worksheet name will be original budget. In cell D1, use a formula to calculate the percentage by which to flex the original budget in light of actual activity in the quarter ended 31st of March 2008. Now, this is very common for us to find the difference between the flex and the actual. And I'm sure all of you remember that the difference between the flex budget and the actual to get the variance. So when you make a budget, so we have a budget, so that is original budget. based on the original budget, we change everything to the flex. So flex budget. And after that, we see the actual result. So that will be the actual. And after that, finally, we find the difference between the actual and the flex budget, and that gives us the variance. Now, the flex budget is the budget that change because of the activity level change. The flex budget is changed because of the activity level change. For example, for this question, we can see our plan was for 5,000 sink. That was the plan. We're going to sell 5,000 sink, but luckily we have sold 6,000. So based on the 5,000 sink, that was the plan. All the cost we have, all the cost we have forecasted. For example, direct material, for example, direct labor, for example, overhead, all the forecasted cost based on the 5,000 unit. Now, when my actual output is more or less, I have to change all this variable cost. I have to change all this variable cost based on the actual output. So if my actual output is 6,000, that means every single cost will have an impact on that. That means every single cost will need to be changed based on the actual activity level. So this is basically the flex, and after that we find the difference between the flex and the actual, and we get the variance analysis. So this is just quickly refresh our memories. We have done this thing before on our management accounting costing paper for the variance analysis topic. Um, well, it's not the under and over absurd, Zabir. So this is basically based on your activity level. You need to change the cost as well. So, for example, if you had a plan for 1,000 unit, and if you make 2,000 unit actually, so all the costs need to be changed so that is basically reflect the 2,000 unit. All right. So let's read the question. So the next point we have here, format cell D1 as a percentage to decimal place. So they said go to cell D1 and as a percentage keep two decimals. So they said make this cell for the percentage and keep two decimal. So we can do that. So in column D, to create a flex budget, insert formula to flex revenue and cost where necessary using absolute referencing to the percentage in cell D1. So this D1, whatever is the percentage we're going to write, they said connect this one with the flex budget. And after that, they are saying where necessary, use the absolute referencing. Now, the absolute referencing we have done last week as well. Absolute referencing is means giving the more clear instruction to the Excel. So make Excel more understandable to tell I want this result based on that calculation. So absolute referencing is the F4 key on your keyboard, and obviously if you have the F4 key, that will be helpful for you to add the absolute referencing. Now the absolute referencing, it will be very necessary when you see when you just use the normal formula, and if it is not work properly, on that case the absolute referencing will be very helpful for that. Then we have the next instruction we have in the column E to update. In column E to update the actual result for the quarter, use copy and paste value. Do not paste the link. To I copy the revenue and cost from the actual result worksheet into the correct position. So they are saying copy the information for the actual result and paste it on the original budget because we have to compare with the flex. So we have a flex and the actual, then we can find the variance. All right, we'll move to the next one. On the B section is saying in the original budget worksheet, calculate the operating profit for the original flex budget and the actual result. So they are now asking to find the profit figure from the original budget and the flex budget and the actual result. In column F, In column F, calculate the variance between the flex budget and the actual result, showing adverse variance as a negative figure, favorable variance as a positive figure. So if it is a positive, then that will be favorable. So we don't have to put the minus. But if it is adverse, they're saying put as a negative. So that means you can enter the minus for that. Then insert a formula in cell F16, the operating profit variance, to the total cell F5 to F15. So now we have to use the formula to calculate the variance. That will be done automatically. Then move to the next section, we have C. In this section, we can see they are saying in the original budget worksheet, insert insert an if statement in cell F18 that will show agreed if the figure from the operating profit variance is the same as the difference between the column total of the flex and the actual, and click check if they do not. Now, more or less, all of us we know this if formula is quite interesting. You can always check something with the if. So if means like you give a condition to the Excel. You tell the Excel if 1 plus 1 is 2, then say grid. If 1 plus 1 is not 2, then say check. So here they are saying if the actual minus flex equal to the variance. If it is match, then it will be agreed. If not, then check. So if I give this instruction to the Excel through the formula, Excel will check it automatically and it will tell us is it agreed or is it check. So let's move on to the next point. We have, it says, freeze the worksheet so that range A1 to B6 always remain visible screen. You can do that. That's on the view section. On the view section, you can always freeze or unfreeze. You can freeze the column. You can freeze the panel. There is a lot of option. You can try that. Freeze normally is a very important where you want to see the heading. So for example, if there is a heading in the top, and you want to keep the heading and you want to scroll down, but you want to keep the heading in the top, this freezing will help you to see that. The next point we have here, they're saying Brian and Luckmoney have been told by the bank that their targeted profit for the next quarter must be 95,000. Brian want to know by how much of the cost of direct material 3 need to be reduced in order to meet the target profit. So to be able to answer Brian question, you will need to use the goal seek function, but you must capture the evidence of this in the worksheet called screen print before accepting the goal seek answer. So the goal seek is a quite interesting formula, even though we don't use much this one. So in the workplace, you will hardly use the goal seek formula unless you are work for a mortgage company. If you work for a mortgage company, and that time you will put the condition like, okay, if every month customer paid £1,000, within how many years the customer will repay the whole amount. So obviously, if this type of condition come, you can use the goal seek. For example, if you take a loan from the bank and every month you paid £200, so you want to know how many years after how many years the money will be repaid. So if you enter this information on the goal seek will tell you automatically. So you can change the figure. For example, you said, okay, if I paid 200, it will take 10 years. What happened if I paid 300? So if you change the figure, goal seek will give you the different figure. So any type of target you want to check, you can check with the goal seek. We'll see that as well. It's quite interesting formula, but it's not very usable in the workplace. We don't use much this type of formula in the work. All right, so the next point we have here, copy all the data in the original budget worksheet and paste. not paste the link. In into the goal seek worksheet, starting in cell A1. In the goal seek worksheet, use the goal seek function to investigate what change in the actual direct material 3 cost figure cell E8 would be required to generate an actual operating profit of 95,000 in cell E16. When the completed goal seek dialog box is showing, but before you click OK button, use the print screen function to capture the evidence of your work and then accept the goal seek. In the screen print worksheet, paste the screenshot. So obviously we'll have a column for we have a worksheet for called screenshot. Now the screenshot will be the evidence of your work. If the question tell you take the screenshot and keep this one as evidence, is very important you do that. So they are saying once the goal seek will be created, before you press OK, take the screenshot and paste it on the screenshot worksheet. So this one will be keep as evidence. The next point we have here, that is at the end of this task you should have one spreadsheet, so which in the live assessment you will upload in the assessment environment. This should have 5 worksheets, so original budget, assessment task, actual result, goal seek, screen print. So this is just like remind you what you'll have on the worksheet. Below is a checklist of each task in this assessment. This one basically help you to make yourself confirm that you've done everything. So below is a checklist for each task in this assessment. As you complete each task, tick it off list, show your progress. Check boxes are provided for your assistance. Using them does not constitute formal evidence that task has been completed. So have you done the percentage? Have you done the flex budget and the actual variance, operating profit and conditional formatting, if statement and formatting, copy values, goal function and the screen print? So all of this will be need to be done. So that will be the part of your checklist. Now we'll move to the Excel worksheet. I'll open that so that we can see what we have there. And of course, like from there, we can do more work and complete the worksheet. So this is our Excel worksheet. And you have to have your question in front of you. As I said, like when you do the exam, make sure you have a to a screen so that we can see this see the question and do the answer at the same time, because the instruction is like every point. I have a question in front of me, I'll look at it and try to do that by following the instruction. So let's have a look. The first thing they said, change the flex. Now the first point was find the difference on D1 and put as a percentage. So you can change it as a percentage. There is no problem for that. And after that, they're saying what is basically the difference between the budget and the flex. Now, if you remember, our plan was to um, our plan was to sell 5,000 sync, but actually we made and sold 6,000. So 1,000 we have made extra. So this extra percentage has to have an impact on all this cost. So all this cost will be increased because the sales has been increased. Now if I try to see what was the increase, so let's say the plan was 5,000 and actually I sold 6. So 1,000 I sold extra. So 1,000 over 5,000, and that is 20%. So this 20% cost need to be increased every single variable cost, because the amount of item we have sold, that is increased by 20%. So we can say that we can show in a formula here. Even they said like you can use the formula the way you like. So it's not there's a hard and sold rules. If you just said like 1.2, then it will be multiplied by 1.2. There is no problem for that. It will give you the same result. So we can say here we have 6,000. So we said 6,000 minus 5,000, close the bracket, divide 5,000. And that will tell us what is the percentage. So if we press enter, that will give us 20%. Now this 20% will tell us this is the increase. So increase from 5 to 6, so it is increased by 20%. So I'll try to link all of this with this 20% so that the cost figure also increase based on that. So let's have a look how we can do that. So the first one we do with the revenue. So you click that, that will be selected. And after that, we have to multiply with that. So 20%, let's say multiply 20%, click that. And we need to add this one again with that. So hopefully that will work. So that will give us 960. So you can see the formula here, the way we did. So we selected that and we multiply with the 20%. After that, we add that. It will give you the same thing. So basically, first we are taking 20% from here, that is increase. And again, we add that. So that will be added with the original budget. So sales revenue has to be increased by 20%. That will give you 960. After that, we'll do the same thing for our cost. But the question said you can use the absolute if you want. So we'll try to do the absolute for that as well. If it is work, obviously, like the normal formula, you don't have to do the absolute, but it's better to do the absolute so that you have actually the right figure, the correct figure, what we are looking for. So let's press the equal and do that. Then we times by 20% and plus this. Now, if I like to do the absolute, so I said this one I want to keep as absolute, the 20%. So I just press F4 and F4 again. If I press enter, that will give me the increased amount of direct material. So now you can see based on the 6,000, of course, the plan was for the 5,000. This is all the cost and revenue was for the 5,000. Now we're looking at everything on the flex that is based on the 6,000. So if we click here, or we can basically drag, we can take up to the variable. So all the variable costs up to here, that will be changed because that will have a impact, or this 20% will reflect all the variable cost. But remember, it will not have impact on the fixed cost because the fixed remain fixed anyway. So if we make a unit, if we don't make a unit, the fixed remains same. So fixed will not change. So the fixed to cost, that is admin and the selling and distribution, these two we keep same. So we can say this and that one will remain same. After that, the next point they said we have to copy the actual result from the actual worksheet and we need to paste on the E column. So let's go here on the actual worksheet. We can see this is our actual result on 31st of March 2008. So that's my actual figure. And we have sold 6,000 zinc. So we'll copy all of this and we'll go back to the original budget. And here, all I need to do, I need to paste. So make sure you don't paste like somewhere that doesn't match. So basically the revenue has to be on the revenue column. The material has to be on the material column. So it has to match. So when you paste the data, make sure you check this thing. So once you have all of this, the next point we have, that is like we have to calculate the variance analysis. Now we already know how to calculate the variance. The variance is the difference between the actual and the flex. The variance is the difference between the actual and the flex. And all we have to remember, if the revenue, or if the sales is more than the budgeted, then it is a favorable. So if my sales or if my revenue is more than my expectation, that is basically favorable, that is good for me. But on the other hand, the cost is opposite. On the other hand, the cost is opposite. So if the cost is more than the budgeted, then it will be adverse, because we want to have a higher revenue. So if the revenue or sales is more, this is good for the business, this is favorable. If the cost is more, this will be adverse. So try to understand that. So don't use the same formula here, because the first one is a revenue and other is basically the cost. So this has to be a different formula. So if you don't remember that, if you just think, oh, I will minus this and that, and you will see all the cost, even the more cost, it will show you the favorable. So you need to be careful here. So only the first one, actual, is this, and my budgeted, not the original budget, the flex one is this. So the difference, we have 15,000. So this is basically the favorable. Now the next one, I don't drag it, because otherwise it will follow the same, because now I'll do the opposite. So I'll say this time my actual, so you'll see that the actual and the flex. So you see it is 3000 come minus if you do that, but this time I'll do opposite. So I'll say my budgeted was this and my actual is less, actually that's 3000 favorable, because budget was 108,000, but actually the cost is 105. So my cost is less. So if the cost is less, is good for me. And the question said, when it is a favorable, you show as a positive figure. If it is adverse, then show as a negative figure. So now obviously these are all costs. I can drag up to here. I think the fixed cost, even we can drag it. So that will give me all this variance. So we can see from here only two, that is the admin, that is 5,000 is a minus, that means is adverse, and 20,000 for the selling and distribution, this is also minus. So these are the variance analysis. So if you remember these steps and if you know how to do the variance, it's not going to be very difficult. So the next point we have here, they said calculate the operating profit, and they asked to use the formulas for that. So let's do that. So we said, okay, so operating profit. Now we know how to calculate the profit. The profit means from the sales, we minus all the expenses or all the operating costs. So we have a sales that is 800,000. And from 800,000, we'll minus all of this to find the operating profit, isn't it? So let's do that. We said equal, that is the revenue. And after that, we said minus, and we can use the sum basically, and that will help us to do it really quick. So we can sum all of this, close the bracket, and if we enter, that will give us actually how much is the operating profit. It's very simple formulas. Obviously we use it everyday life, so this is not going to be difficult. Then we use the same thing for the actual. So that gives me 73,600. Then we do for the actual result after the flex, that gives me 89,800. Now remember, we're not going to follow this one here, because this one I'm following this minus all of this. But when you do the variance analysis, I have to know the difference between the adverse variance and the favorable variance, because I am looking for what is actually the net result from the variance. So all I have to do, if I click here and I do the auto sum, and that will give me actually how much is the variance difference. So that is 16,200. So this one we can see, this is the result we have from our variance. Now the next point we have, the next question we have here, that is the if formula. So they are saying do the if the actual result minus the flex agree with that. This should be, isn't it? Because if I have the correct figure, so if I have actual 89,800, and if I minus it from 89,800 to 73,600, the difference should be 16,200. So we want to check it. So let's do that. So they said use the column here, that is F18. So we are in F, and this is number 18. So F18. In the F18, we're going to use the if formula. If formula is quite interesting, and if you learn this formula not only for the exam, there is a lot of places you can use that. For example, if you want to check like if the amount is more than 10, then is okay. If the amount is less than 10, it is not okay. You can do anything you like. For example, if you are the education industry, you can say like if someone get more than 50% marks, then they are pass. If someone get a less than 50%, they are failed. So if formula is quite really interesting formula. So let's do that. So we start with the if, and as soon as you write the if will come here. And if we have like two figure, so we want to say I want to check actual minus the budgeted equal to that. That means I will compare with two figure, so we'll have two bracket for that. So he said we'll take two bracket because we'll have two amount, two figure. So he said if E16 minus D16 and close the bracket. So close the bracket equal to variance. So I'm saying if this minus this equal to this, then what we'll do, I'll put the comma and I have to use this sign what I want to check. So I said if this minus this equal this, so if it is match, then we said agreed, and after that I have to close it, then comma again, then if not, then I will say check. So after the comma we do the same thing again, check, CHECK, and we have to close it again, then close the bracket, and that's it. So what we're looking at here, we are saying if the actual result minus the flex budget result is a match with the variance analysis, then the answer should be agreed. If not, this should be check. So I'll now press the enter. If the formula is right, that will tell me agree, because this minus this actually 16,200. That means it is match, and that's why the Excel set is agreed. Now you can check yourself. For example, if I just change it to 20,000, for example, I just change it 20,000. And as soon as I change it, you see this said check. So as soon as I change any figure, this formula should tell me something else. So you can go back. So it said agreed. So this if formula is quite popular and quite interesting. So you can use it in different places. All right, so the first thing, the first requirement we have done. So let's have a look what is the next requirement we have. So this is done. The next point we're going to do for the goal seek. Now they said copy all the information, and check with the goal seek. So let me see. Yeah, so we need to copy all of this, and we'll see how the goal seek is work. So we'll copy all of this, and we'll go to the goal seek, the um, worksheet they gave in the bottoms, and we paste it here, everything. And after that, we're going to use the goal seek. Now, this goal seek section will be really interesting, because as I said, like if you know this goal seek, even though you don't use it for every place, but it's quite interesting formula. So the goal seek function you're going to see on the data. So if you click on your data on the Excel tab, so data will tell you what is the goal seek. So if you click data, you will see the option for the what if analysis. So inside of the what if analysis, the formula is there for the goal seek. So if you click here, what if, and after that you can see we have a goal seek. and we click the goal seek. So now this goal seek have few cell. So you have to set few cell. It said set the cell. So which cell I want to set? Number one. Number two, to value. So what is my target? What I want to do? And by changing the cell, and what cell I want to change. So if you see the question, they said we have to change the direct material 3. So direct material 3, and that is we have here, this is 164,000. So this is the one we have to change from the actual result. They said E8. So these are E, this is the 8, and they said direct material 3. So this one they said you have to change it. So let's do that. So we said we'll go again there, goal seek. We have to select the cell. This is that one. After that, to value, they said if you remember the question, the bank said you have to have a profit 95,000. So we want to see how much cost I need to reduce, how much cost I have to reduce if I like to get a profit 95,000. So our target is 95,000. So to value the 95,000, and what I want to change, I want to change. So we did this one wrong. So we basically want to change that cell, isn't it? We want to change the cost, that is direct material 3. This is the one we want to change. So we said, okay, so we'll change that, and the cell of the profit, because we like to see the profit here, 95,000. So basically now, right now, the profit we have 89,800. We want to change it to 95,000. And how? To reduce the cost of the direct material to make the profit 95. So I said, that's fine. Then after that, we can press the OK to see what's going on in the system. But before I do that, they said take a screenshot, so to as evidence, so that you can keep the evidence on the screenshot. So you can press the screenshot on your keyboard, and that will keep the screenshot. And after that, you can press the OK. If you press the OK, immediately you can see this profit figure is now changed. So now we can see that targeted profit 95,000 is here, and the direct material cost that was before 164,700, now it come down to 159,500. So what we understand from here, we have understand, if I like to get a profit 95,000 for next quarter, I have to make sure my direct material 3, the cost cannot be more than 159,500. So if I like to get this amount of profit, the direct material 3, the cost has to be 159,500. It cannot exceed. If it is more than that, I cannot have my expected or targeted profit. I said that's fine. So after that, we go to the screen print. Press OK. So we move to the screen print, and here all you need to do, you need to paste the screenshot that we took. You can always crop it the way you want, and obviously, like in the exam, you can crop it, but mainly they want to see it like you done the right way. So hopefully it will not be very difficult for us to do it. So you can keep up to this level. Even if you keep the full level, I think it is any problem, because this is only just to show. All right, so the next section they was talking about the freezing. So the freezing section, you can see here on the view option. So if you come here on the view, so you have some freeze option here. So it's a freeze the panel. If you click here, so we have a freeze the row, freeze the panel. For example, if I like to freeze something, let's say I click here, and after that I click freeze the row. And now if you see, if I try to move, obviously the row or the panel, so they set on freeze. So let's freeze that. Freeze the panel. So you can see it's not going. So if I click here, up to that level will be there. After that, it will not be hide. So even though if I scroll down, it is still there. So this is not something very difficult to see. You can freeze the column. You can freeze the row. You can freeze the panel. You can do whatever you like from here. So this is basically the question. The question they ask us for this activity, and you see, as I said, the answer will not be difficult, but the question is itself is difficult. The question will give you a headache, like how you're gonna start, where you should click, because they give you the cell number and everything. So that's why you should have a very good practice. If you have enough practice, as soon as you see the question, you know what to do. So you will do that. All right, so we move back to the question now again, and we'll see, is there anything we have missed? So we can see here in this question, we have done the percentage, that is 20%, that is increased. Then we have done the flex and the actual, so this one is done as well. Then we have a variance, operating profit, conditional formatting, if, then formatting copy values. Now the conditional formatting is like kind of you can make it something that you want to see. For example, let's say, let me show you the conditional formatting. It's not very difficult thing, but just quickly show you if you don't know it. For example, if I am in this Excel sheet, and here we want to do some conditional formatting. Conditional formatting always on the home page. So if you go to the home page, and you'll see here something called conditional formatting. Now let's say if I write here anything, let's say A, B, C, D. So just write few things. Now if I said A is just like make it simple, just A, B, C, D. Now if I said I want to see with the conditional formatting, like specific color or a specific like the way I want to identify that. For example, I said if there is a here, let's I make some more A and B. So it could be a thousands of data, it could be thousands of name, it could be thousands of number. I'm just showing few so that you can use that. So select all of this, and we go to the conditional formatting. They'll give you a different option. So what you exactly want? Let's say I want highlight the cell that is, I said equal to, for example, equal to. Now if I said if there is a, if there is a, make it red. And I want again, if there is a B, then make it green. So I said equal to, if there is a B, make it green. You can change the color from here, green. So as long as if I write, so for example, if I write any amount here, let's see if I write here A, then B, it will keep coloring automatically. So it depends like what you want. If you want, like for example, if you said like, okay, I'm selling a few product, let's say I have a product X, Y, and Z, and I want to follow the X. So you said, okay, if there is a X, then it will be green. If there is a Y, it will be red. And for example, you can do the formulating condition for the greater than or less than. You said like, if my selling price is more than 100, so it will be green. If the selling price is less than 100, it will be red. So anything you like, you can do with this conditional formatting, and it will give you some options as well. You can see we have a greater than, we have a less than, we have a between, we have a text start with. So there are so many things here. So you can try with that, and hopefully like you will understand more like from here. So obviously like if you just spend some time with that, it will give you more understanding, and that will, you will learn more, definitely, no doubt. All right, so let's move on to our next question. Yes, Umid, you can do that. So if you want to freeze the row and the column, you actually freeze the panel. If you freeze the panel, so panel will show you how you want to freeze it. So you can freeze the row, you can freeze the column at the same time. You can do that. So let's move on to the next question, the next practice, and let's have a look what we have here. Okay, so this one will be our practice assessment from the BPP. And as I said, more we practice will be more good in the exam. So it's very important to practice a lot of question. So let's move on and start with this question. So this one we have Advanced Diploma Synoptic, Practice Assessment 1, Task 1.1 for 15 marks. So let's start with this one. Let's have a look what we have here. In this question, we will see some ethics question, and let's say if we try to do it together. So let me just open that, and after that we'll do it together. All right, so that's good. Okay, let's start with this first question. So let's try everyone if we can do it together. So the first one is saying the following statement have been made by trainee accountant in relation to the AAT Code of Professional Ethics and Fundamental Principle. Now, this type of question will ask you true and false. Remember that for the ethics side, most of the question you will see like that. Most of the question will be like true or false or the MCQ. There will be very few question that will come from your calculation part, like that will tell you get the figure to the calculation, but most of the question will be like judgmental question. And as I said before as well, you have to pass the ethics separately. So it's not you pass to one side and another side you are not passing. So obviously like you have to pass both. So ethics you have to pass separately, and the question on the Excel, that you have to pass separately. So if you passed one and another one you fail, so definitely you fail both. All right, so let's do this one. It says show whether the following statement are true or false. The first one is said it doesn't matter whether or not people might think my action are unethical. It is whether or not I am that count. So basically, what do you think? Is it a true or false? Is it not matter what public think about my decision? So remember, as an accountant, it's not what I feel. It's also about what public, the way public see me, the people see me. Uh, that's why even when we audit, if you audit your brother company, so even you are very honest, you tell like if it is my brother company, I will not be biased, I will be very fair, I will be honest. But it doesn't look like honest. If you audit your mother company or sister company, you will be very honest, but does it look like honest? That's the question. If it doesn't look like honest, then you are not the you are not in a position to carry on your task. So if there is a familiarity threat created because of the relationship, you cannot create the work, you cannot do the work. So it's not like what you feel, it is also how the public react on that. So he said the answer will be false for that. Actually, it does matter how the public see you. The next one we have here, it says as long as I comply with principle of integrity, as long as I comply with the principle of integrity, compliance with other principle will be implied as a result. So do you think if you are honest and rest of the principle will be automatically comply? And obviously like the answer is a no. If you just follow one principle doesn't mean the other principle will be comply with that automatically. So we said is false. This is also false. Very well done, Carmen. Very well done, Umit. Very well done, Jano. The next one we have here, that one is saying the ethical code applies to my role as a professional and my working life. My private life, on the other hand, is just that private. What do you think? Is it a true or false? So you just think, well, when I'm in the office, I will be like professional, but when I'm in outside of the office, that's my personal life. I can do anything I like. The answer is no, you cannot do like that, because if you see if you see an accountant or any professional people, if they done something wrong, that not only damage his personal reputation or personal goodwill, it also damages the reputation of the organization, the industry. So if you see someone from the police, if he done something wrong, even though he was off duty, but on the news it will come a police officer done that, doesn't matter he was on the duty or not. So it really matter even you are not in the work. So if you are having your private life, you still you have to make sure like you don't damage your profession. So that is false. The last one we have, as a professional accountant, it is more important for me to be ethical as I work in the public interest. So, what do we think for that? So, as a professional accountant, it is more important for me to be ethical as I work in the public interest. So, what do you think for that answer? Is it true or false? So, as an professional accountant, it is more important for me to be ethical as I work in the public interest. So, the answer will be yes, that's true. Obviously, it is true, because if I work for the public interest, and obviously it is more important to be ethical. Now, if you have something, let's say if it is your private limited company and if it is your money, if you the way you want, you can spend that. But when you deal with something that is not yours and that is public is involved, so you want to show you are more ethical. So obviously, like when the public interest is involved, you have to be more careful, you have to be more honest, and you have to be more ethical. So he said this is true. All right, so let's move on. In the ethics, some question will be look like the answer is uh, different one, but you will see the answer will be different, because some question will give you the feeling that will be the answer, but actually you will see after that that's not the answer, because you have to think. So when you give answer, you need to think a little bit, sometime a different way. All right, number B. Number B is saying show whether or not the Code of Professional Ethics specifically require an AAT member to take each of the following action in order to act in the line with principle of objectivity. So principle of objectivity. So let's have a look at that. Statement. What is the statement here? As an accountant in practice, if a member undertakes service for two clients working in the same industry, the member must always resign from one of the engagement. What do you think? Is it true or false? So they are saying like if you have a same client industry, for example, Tesco and Sainsbury, and you have to resign. So do you think is it true or false? Now, if I can have the same client, for example, you see like uh, KPMG. Let's say the Asta, Sainsbury, Tesco, Waitrose, all this may be the client of KPMG. So obviously, like you don't have to resign from the engagement, obviously for that. So you can have a client, but you have to make sure you keep the information confidential. So you should have a safeguard. You should have a safeguard so that you can keep the information confident. Now, I just want to tell you some additional information. Sometimes we feel like in the accounting practice, we have only one partner. Now if you said like, okay, how can I keep the information in a secret when we have a different client? The truth is the way it is work, for example, for the KPMG, have a, like, let's say 100 of partner. So partner means like the qualified people, the charter accountant. Now, everyone have a different client. So it's not only the KPMG. KPMG is a company. They don't deal with the specific client or individual client. It's the partner who deal with the client. Now, for example, I am a partner of KPMG. Let's say Bilal is a partner of KPMG. Let's say Javid is the partner of KPMG. So what will happen? Maybe Javid have a client for Asda, Tesco is my client, and maybe Sainsbury is a Bilal client. So we don't have to resign as long as we can have the safeguard inside of the organization. Then you really don't have to resign from that. So you have to make sure you can keep the appropriate safeguard, and the information don't pass to one client to another client. So if you can keep the safeguard, then it's okay. You don't have to resign. You can have the client from the same industry. So this one will be false. So this one we said. So the first one will be false. The next one we have here, if a member has a family. If a member has a family relatives working in managerial position at a company they provide service for, the member should alert their line manager. So if you have a family member who work in a company, obviously like you think like you should tell your line manager about it. What do you think? Is it true or false? So if you have a family member who work in a position, you should tell your manager in advance. That's better, isn't it? So later on they will not find it and they will tell you, it will create the familiarity threat. So it's better to tell in advance. So we said it's true. So we can avoid the familiarity threat. The next one we have here is said your close friend Jill has become a director at one of the client you work for. It is recommended that an alternative manager at your firm work with Jill business instead. Is it true or false? So as I said, the quotient sometimes look like true, but actually you need to understand the point. So said your close friend Jill has become a director at one of your client you work for. So so I have a client, he become close of that. It is recommended that an alternative manager at your firm work with Jill business instead. So this is false. This is not have to create. It's not creating any familiarity threat here because he is not the one Jill. Even if Jill is my very close friend, I can be his auditor. I can do work for him. For example, it doesn't mean like, oh, if someone is your friend and you will be like always giving a favor, do unethical work. No, it's not always like that. Even though if someone from your friend, you can do for work for him as long as you follow the ethical principle. So that will be the false. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have here is said Marion, a professional accountant in a practice, gave large limited an opinion on the application of accounting principle to comply a specific transaction. Marion knew that she was forming her opinion on the basis of inadequate information. So basically, what information he is giving, the whole what opinion, the decision is giving, but he don't have enough information for that. Which one of the following fundamental principle have been breached by Marion? So what do you think? Like which one he breached here by giving this information that is like basically uh, he's giving the opinion, but he don't have the competence. So he said professional competence and due care. Yeah, very good. All right, so let's move to the next one. So the next one we have here, that is so Deepika. Deepika is an accountant employed by Natural Beauty, a company which develop, manufacture, and sell luxury bath and body products. One of the company's top selling product is a body polish, which is claimed use all natural ingredients. The exploiting quality of the polish is achieved using sea salt and fine sand. During the course of her work, Deepika discovered that in order to reduce the cost, the company has begun to replace some of the sand with microbeads, and microbeads are tiny plastic beads which pollute both the ocean and the food chain for the human consumption. The use of the microbeads is banned in a number of countries, but they have not yet banned by the country in which natural beauty operates. They are not natural ingredients, and the packing or packaging has not been updated to reflect this. So basically, that is a little bit lying. Before you use some ingredients, now you change the ingredients, but you didn't tell your customer like you change that, because the packaging is still same like before, but you change something that is not very good for the human health and for the environment. So the first one is show whether the below statement are true or false. The first one is natural beauty may have been broke the law. What do you think? They're breaking the law? The questions are very clear for clearly. It is not banned. It has not been banned by the country which the natural beauty operate. So obviously, we are not we are not breaking the law. So natural beauty have broken the law. The answer is no, it's false. They are not broke the law because the country still don't have any law like you can use it or cannot use it. So microbead is still allowed to use. Number two is asking natural beauty has act unethically. This is true or false. So the whatever they're doing, this is unethical work they're doing, and this is true because this is not right thing to do. They should not do something that the people, the customer, don't know about it, or telling something that is not true. All right, let's move to the next one. Number E is asking which one of the below action should Deepika take now? What Deepika should do, or what action Deepika should take against that? Said take the issue directly to the press, then she should do nothing or discuss the finding with her immediate manager and share her concern regarding the company use of microbeads. So remember, at the first go, we don't do whistle blowing. Whistle blowing means like calling the press or calling the media and telling everyone. We don't do it at the first go. So we have to understand this. This is a business, so we don't do something that will damage the reputation of the business. We have to speak because all this question when we are doing, we are the part qualified accountant because AAT is the course for the part qualified. So we are not qualified yet. So we cannot do something without having a discussion or conversation with our immediate manager or supervisor. So we have to make sure like we have a discussion. So first thing I will do, I'll inform my immediate manager or line manager or supervisor. Then they will take the decision. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next one we have here, it says if Deepika disclosed this issue through appropriate channel, either internally or externally, would any protection against dismissal to be offered to Deepika under the Public Information Disclosure Act 1998? So if they said it to the appropriate channel, like telling the people or whatever it is, so are he is risks of like getting the dismissal for that? So the first one is a no, as disclosure of the matter would be inappropriate in the situation. Basically, it's a protection, isn't it? Yeah. So he will protect the dismissal. So what do you think? If he tell this information to the appropriate authority, he can protect him herself from the dismissal of the job. So the first one is said no, he cannot because it will be inappropriate. Number two, it says yes, as she has a responsible ground to believe that the environment is being damaged and this cover was made in a good faith. So if you tell the environmental agency and telling like, I know a client, he's using that and that is not good for the environment. So she can do that. And the last one we have no. PIDA only protect individuals who are disclosing the serious organized crime such as money laundering. So they said no, PIDA only protect the people who give the information about the money laundering. If they give information about other thing, then it will not protect the job. So what do you think for that? So can PIDA will protect the job for Deepika? The answer is yes, because here is something happen. Um, here is something happen. Obviously, this is the good faith for the environment. Because if she believe that will damage the environment, and if you try to inform the environment agency or some authority, like to let them know this has been doing a long time by the company, or this is the microbeads used by this company that is not good for the country. So obviously the PIDA, they will protect her job, obviously the information as well. So she can do that because she is doing for the good faith, and I believe the environment will be affected if she don't do anything. All right, so the PIDA is kind of this is the kind of the government agency, and if you give any information to them, obviously like they will not share it. So when you share the information to someone, there is a two way you can share that. There is a protected share and there is unprotected share. So unprotected share means like you tell the information to everyone. For example, you know something and you just printed it on the newspaper tomorrow. So you just said that's on the newspaper or on the TV. So everyone on the country or on the world, they knows it. If you do something, maybe this is not correct way, but if you tell the right authority, maybe they will protect the information. All right, so let's move on to the next one. We have a task 1.2 for 15 marks. Let's have a look at that. Said the tasks are based on the following workplace scenario of Coalland, a partnership; you are Paula, a part-qualified accounting technician employed by Radcliffe and Rutherford's, an accountancy firm. Friends Chippo and Charlie have recently begun to trade through a new partnership. So, Coatland, which own and let several area of land including two houses. On reviewing the Coatland sales daybook, you have found three errors. So you're looking at the sales ledger control account and you have found three errors from there. So let's have a look. The opening balance we have 32,300. Then the sales we have 17,800. Then we have a bank and cash that is 23,500. Then we have a balance sheet it is. So let's have a look what is the error we have here. So the three error we have, the first one we have a sales invoice of 2,700 had not been posted as sale on 29th of June. So this one we missed, that is the sales. So 2,700 need to be add on the debit side. So we can make a T account here and we can say 2,700 need to be added on the debit side. Number one. Then number two is saying a customer who owe 3,600 had been declared bankrupt on 25th of June, and it is unlikely that the debt will be recovered. So this is irrecoverable debt. If I know the customer and if I'm 100% sure this money will not be possible to recover, we called it irrecoverable debt. And irrecoverable debt come credit side of the sales ledger control. So we said irrecoverable debt and that is 3,600. All right, and then we have the next point we have here, that is an error. An error was made by the credit control clerk, which means that a cash receipt for an invoice was incorrectly recorded as 1730 when the invoice was correctly 1370. So basically, the correct amount is 1370 and I recorded mistakenly 1730, and it was a receipt from a customer, cash receipt. So that means if I receive the money, I record on the credit side, isn't it? If I received the money from a customer, I record on the credit side. So I supposed to record 1370, but mistakenly I record 1730. So what will happen now? I recorded more, isn't it? So 360, the difference, 360 I recorded more. So I said I received 360 more from the customer. So my sales ledger account went down, and obviously my bank goes up, but this is the wrong figure. So now I have to change my bank. So my bank need to be go down. I said in the bank actually I didn't receive 1730, I received 1370. So 370 I will reduce the bank. Also, the sales ledger control, the trade receivables, I will also increase because I didn't receive the full amount. So I will say I have to increase that. So this 360 I'm going to write on the debit side now because I have to increase the balance because I never received this 360. All right, this is the story here. So let's have a look. If we go to the top and try to find what is the requirement. So they are saying on the sales ledger. So what do you asking from here? So we have to complete that. So you are prepared journal to correct those errors. What is the journal to correct the error made by the credit controller? This is for the credit controller, the difference, this and that. And I don't know, they're asking to complete it or not, the sales ledger control, but we can always do that. Let's do this one. So here I'm going to write the recoverable debt, recoverable debt that we have calculated, that is 3,600. And then on the other side we have the first sales invoice, so sales, that is 2,700. Then we have the error by credit controller, so error by credit controller, that is 360, and the balance sheet is this, so that will be match. So that's fine. Let's move on to the journals. Let's have a look what will be the journal there. So the first question we have here, you are prepare journal to correct the errors. What is the journal to correct the error made by the credit controller? So can anyone tell me what will be the journal for that? What will be debit and what will be credit? So if you remember, we have said we receive more money. So we said our sales ledger control, it went down because we received more money, and bank also go up. Bank also go up by 360. But actually that was a mistake. So I need to do opposite now, isn't it? I need to reduce the bank. So obviously I need to make the bank credit. So I have to make it down. And the sales ledger control, I have to make it up. So I'll make it debit. So I'll make the bank credit and the sales ledger control debit. So I said, okay, so I'll do that. So I said the sales ledger controlled. So I'm in trade receivables. So we do trade receivables. So we're going to write that. So trade receivables, that is debit, and the bank and cash, that will be credit. All right, let's do the next one. The next one we have here, which of the following correctly describe the type of error made by the credit control clerk? So what do you think, what type of error made by the credit control clerk? Which error it is? Is it error of omission? Is it a error of original entry? Is it error of commission? Or is it error of principal? So error of omission means when I forget something completely. When I forget something completely, this is the error of omission. So this is not the answer. Then error of original entry. So when I make a mistake on the original entry on the both side, on the debit and the credit side, if we made a mistake on both side, uh, on the original entry, so this is called error of original entry. So here this has happened. I'm right 1370 instead of 1370, I wrote 1730 on both debit and credit. So that's my error of original entry. Error of omission, error of commission, or error of principal. No, so this is basically error of commission and the error of principal. So this is basically the wrong type and the wrong category. So it is not the wrong type, not category, it is the amount. So I said it's error of original entry. All right, so let's move on. The next question we have here, it is in order to account for the irrecoverable debt, which side of the sales ledger control account will be entry to be accounted for? So if there is a irrecoverable debt, what we do with the sales ledger control? We make sales ledger control debit or we make sales ledger control credit? So we make sales ledger control credit because we have to reduce the asset. If the customer not going to pay me, so that means that will be the reduction. So that means we have to reduce the balance. And if you want to reduce the balance, I have to make it credit. So if I make it credit, that means like the sales ledger control will go down. So I said I will make it credit. All right. Number D is asking, what is the revised carried down balance after the correction of the error of the sales ledger control account was at 30 June? So what was the carried down balance? So this is should be here. So that is 26,006. How much? 2660. All right, to me. Thank you. So we have done this one before, just didn't write it down. So after correction all this error, your new balance will be 26,060. All right, so very good. Let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, that is, which one of the following statement about a limited liability partnership is not correct? So which one is not correct? So have a look at. Unlimited liability partnership is a separate legal entity. This is true. So this is basically correct. So this is not the answer. Then the LLP must register with the registered company house. This is also true. So this is not the answer. There is no upper limit to the number of partnership a LLP can have. This is also true. The LLP must file annual return, accounts, and annual corporation tax return. That's not true. Basically, this is not correct. The LLP don't have to do this thing. So this is not correct. This thing for the company, for the limited company, not for the partnership. Partnership are the people who is individually liable for the tax. All right, so let's move on to the next one. So the next one we have here, you have discovered that Charlie has been charging VAT on invoices even though Cortland is not yet registered for the VAT. When questioned, he declared that he didn't see any problem as Cortland paid VAT on supply invoice anyway. So you have informed Chipo, but she does not mind either. So what happened? When you are not registered for the VAT, you are not allowed to charge to your customer because you don't pay the VAT. So when you collect the VAT from your customer, you have to pay the VAT to the Hmrc, isn't it? So if you charge the VAT to your customer, but if you are not VAT registered, this is not correct. This is not right. Here it is happening because you're charging. He's charging more money from the customer, but actually they are not VAT registered and they are not paying any VAT to Hmrc. So when you inform the manager and the manager said is okay or he don't mind, and the person who is doing that, he believed that when we buy something from the supplier, we paid the VAT. So why we cannot charge to the customer? So this is his logic. But the truth is like even though you are paying the VAT to the supplier, but you are not allowed to charge VAT to your customer until or unless you are registered for the VAT, either mandatory VAT or voluntary. So you have to register voluntarily in order to charge VAT to your customer. So let's have a look. That it says complete the following statement by selecting one of the option below. So the accountant should disclose this information next to which of the following parties. So the accountant should tell to whom this information. So HMRC, nominated officer, or National Crime Agency. Remember that as an accountant, you never inform to HMRC for anything. HMRC is not the place you inform for money laundering or for anything. You don't tell HMRC for anything. Even someone try to avoid the tax, if someone involved in the money laundering, HMRC is not the place you tell. HMRC is the place where you submit the accounts, you pay the tax. So this thing deal by the HMRC. If you have any issues in the company, if you have any problem, if you find someone is involved with the money laundering or anything, the first thing you have to see, do you have the MLRO, that is um, money laundering reporting officer. Now if you work for a company, then you might have someone, the supervisor or manager, to tell this thing. Well, let's say if you are a sole practitioner, you are in a practice, so you have no one to tell. On that case, you can inform to the National Crime Agency. So if you are a sole practitioner and you have no one to tell, only that case you can inform to the National Crime Agency. But if you work for a company and if you have a manager, if you have a partner, if you have a supervisor, if you have a MLRO, your first job will be to inform the nominated officer at the company. So the company have a policy. So if this type of situation is happen, to whom you should report to? Normally, if the company is big, we have a MLRO, that is money laundering reporting officer. So you tell him. If you don't have the MLRO, then you inform to the higher authority, the manager and someone else. And if after informing, if these people deny that, if these people said that's fine, let it do, or there is no problem for that, maybe after you can consider to tell, the NCA, that is National Crime Agency. Other than you don't tell this thing to the National Crime Agency. So only you tell this thing when no action is taken from the nominated officer. So remember that you never tell anything to HMRC. HMRC is not the place you complain about your client. Even though there is a there is a rules like if if you find something, let's say you found the client trying to pay less tax or doing something that is wrong. Now, if you tell your client like uh, you cannot do it, or if you do that, I cannot be your accountant. So even still, the client said, "Okay, I will do it. I don't mind to. I don't mind. I will still do that." Now, if the client insists you to do that, even that time you are not allowed to tell the HMRC. So only the thing you will tell HMRC, like I will not act as an agent for this client anymore. So you tell HMRC, like from today I'm resigning as an accountant from this client. But remember, never tell the reason. Never tell the reason to HMRC why you are resigning. You just need to tell the HMRC, I'm resigning as an accountant for this client. Now, every time the client moved to the different accountant, this is very normal. So obviously, maybe the client moved to the another accountant. So you didn't tell the reason to HMRC why you are resigning. You just let him know you are not the accountant anymore. So your responsibility will be finished there. All right, so let's take a break. So after that, we can start from here. So let's take a break and we'll come back after half an hour. So 8 o'clock we'll come back and we'll start from here. So let's start with the next question we have. The next question we have here that is you discover that Charlie has begun training for his AAT qualification and has signed up as a student with the AAT. So the next question is asking which of the following statement is correct about AAT disciplinary procedures? The first one we have Charlie will not be exposed to disciplinary proceeding because he has not taken all the exam yet. So as haven't done all the exam, he is not responsible for the any procedure. The code of professional ethics is only enforceable for fully qualified member of the AAT. This number two. Charlie may discipline if he failed to comply with the AAT CPD requirement. So this is the last one we have. And obviously, like it's not to really matter you are fully qualified or you are part qualified or you haven't done all the exam, you will be still responsible for the code of ethics. So the last one will be the best possible answer in this situation. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, that is complete the following sentence by selecting the correct word from the pick list. The AAT has the continuing professional development CPD cycle, which comprise 4 steps. These are assess, plan, and evaluate. So which one is from here? Action, consider, engage, and mitigate. So this type of question is very precise. So if you don't know the answer, you will lose the mark. So this type of question will be very, very precise answer you have to do. So I need to say this is the action. Action. All right, let's move to the next one. In the exam, you will definitely have a question where you have to write few words. So this type of scenario question will be definitely in the exam. So you have to write few lines on the exam. So make sure you have your typing speed a little bit better, because if your typing is really slow, maybe it will take more time to type, so it's better if you can write little bit faster. So let's read this question here. Task 1.3, 15 marks. It is Monday morning when the partner, Mr. Rutherford, called you his office for a private meeting. He explained that he has a number of expenses relating to personal expenditure that he would like to put through the company book of accounts. He hands you a file containing a year worth of private bank statement and requests you to identify an expenditure relating to his expensive family holiday and post as an expense in the business travel expense. Your response is you have learned at college that only the valid business expenditure should be recorded through the business book of account. However, his reasoning is that the holiday are there to help him relax from the stress of running a business, so it is only fair this is recorded as a business expense. The director implies that as a thank you, he may able to obtain two tickets for two seat for the final at tennis tournament. When you return to your desk, you complete an internet search and are surprised to discover this ticket currently selling is excess of 500 each. So basically, the director asking to include the personal expenditure into the business expense, and he's saying like as a return you will get two ticket for the tennis final tournament, and the ticket are really expensive, so you checked yourself and you have found each ticket is 500 pounds, so that means 1000 pounds it will be for two ticket, so that is quite expensive. So obviously if this is the situation, what will be your action? So let's read the requirement. So outline any potential ethical issue that this work request can bring. In your answer, refer to the Code of Professional Ethics, highlight a specific threat that you may apply. So, what threat you are feeling from this scenario? So, what type of threat of objectivity you can guess so far from here? And obviously, what will be your answer? It is a 6 marks question. It is a 6 marks question, so expect to write at least more than 6 sentences. So the first thing we're going to write, what type of expenditure we are allowed to record. So we can say expenditure type. So we can explain expenditure type. So that means only only the business expenditure are valid to include on the business expense. So you're going to explain that. So we can, I cannot do that because only the business expenditure allowed to treat as expense, because more expense you show, the profit will be less, and if the profit is less you will pay less tax. So sometimes the business try to show more expense that will reduce the profit, and if it is reduce the profit, then of course they will pay less taxes. And after that, obviously, you tell as per your understanding that could lead to the money laundering, because you try to money laundering is the topic you can include everywhere where you see like the owner or the director, they try to hide the source of the money. So if there is anything they try to hide about the money, you can always involve the money laundering there. So you can take, I have a feeling so that is money laundering could be involved in this case. So you can always say about the money laundering. And the next point is you're going to say about the threat. So as everyone said, self-interest. So because he is offering you the tennis ticket, so this is a self-interest threat is raising threat of objectivity. Self-interest threat is here, and the ticket is expensive, so there is no way you can reduce the risk to an acceptable level. So only the self-interest threat you can accept the gift or something if it is not very significant, if it is not something that will change your mind, if it is not something because of that the decision will be affected. For example, let's say if the client bring a coffee for you, so maybe because of the one coffee you will not change your mind. But for example, let's say the client bring some sweets for all of the people. Maybe the clients give a voucher for the food for all the staff in the office. So because of this thing, you're not going to change your decision. But if something is very specific, and if the client want to change the decision, so that will be basically for a purpose, and that will definitely will change your opinion. So that is kind of the self-interest threat is involved, and this threat cannot be reduced to an acceptable level. So there is no safeguard for that. So all of this you're going to explain here, and obviously you will need to say uh, taking this tennis ticket, that will be treated as a crime, and obviously that will not be it will be treated as a bribery. So I will be it will be offense to me under a bribery act. So all of this you can write for the 6 marks question. The next point we have here that is state your decision. So what will be your decision regarding the request from the partner, and state any further action you like to take. So your action will be, so you must refuse the partner. You should say like, I cannot take this one the gift, the tennis ticket. I cannot take this. Also, I cannot allow this expenditure because this one will lead to the money laundering, and obviously I cannot do this. So you have to straightway refuse the proposal, because this type of risk there is no safeguard for that. You don't have any safeguard for this type of risk, so you have to refuse this type of proposal. And obviously if it needed, if you see like it is a very serious matter, then you have to tell the MLRO, and that will be your nominated officer on the company. You'll tell them like, this is happening, they're offering me this. So he said, I will inform the MLRO, the money laundering reporting officer, about this, and also I will see what is the consequence of that. So if there any action I have to take, I'll take that. So the main 2 point will be, I will refuse that to my partner, and the another point will like, I will refuse to take uh, the ticket, tennis ticket, because that will be treated as a bribery, and I will be in the fall of the bribery act. That's a 2 marks question. If you write 2 lines, that will be more than enough. Then the next one we have this type of question always come in the exam. So you receive an email and you have to reply for that email. So you said, hi, I'm a new junior at the partnership and will be working on the partnership end of the financial statement. I have just started my accountancy study and have only covered sole trader. So we have not covered the type of accounts and the financial statement used in partnership. This is all new to me. Okay, can you please help me to get started? So um, uh, basically they're asking some advice about the partnership. So they said like, I'm very new because I never studied accounting. So obviously help me to understand what is partnership. So you need to write everything about the partnership. Yes, Jabir, you have to report to your officer. All right, so let's read the requirement first. Here we have reply to your colleague outlining the accounts and the statements used in partnership arrangement. Your answer should be suitable for someone with no knowledge of partnership. That means they try to make you understand you have to tell everything about the partnership. You have to tell everything about the partnership. So first you tell the definition. What is partnership? So the first thing you said, the definition, the partnership, how many types of partnership we have. We can say we have ordinary partnership and we have a limited liability partnership. So you can talk about the partnership when more than two or more people, two or more people decided to start a business together. We called it partnership. So first you can start with the definition. It's a 7 marks question. So you have to write at least 7 sentences for that. So after that, the next point you can write how many things we do with the partnership. The first thing we talk about the capital account. Capital account. And on the capital account, you can say the capital means when the partner started business, the money they have invested, this is called capital. And on the every partners will have a separate capital account. So when they start a business, they will have opening balance. During the year, if they introduce any capital, that will be increase their capital. You can also talk about the goodwill. If the new partner join, if another partner retire, so the goodwill need to be valued, and that will be increase their capital. You can talk about that. The next point we're going to talk, that will be the current account. Current account. So you can explain what you're going to see in the current account. So you can say like every partner will have a separate current account, and the current account credit side, opening balance will be the credit side. That means the business have to pay this money to the partners. So obviously you can say the salaries, the commission, then interest on capital. This thing will be then the share of profit. This thing will be on the credit side of the current account. On the other hand, the drawings of the interest will be on the debit side of the current account. So you have to remember all of this because this question can come in the Excel as well. Then we can talk about our appropriation account. Appropriation account. You can say the partners have to prepare the appropriation account, and this is the profit basically they get from the business, and from this appropriation they paid the salary, they paid the commission, they paid the capital interest, they receive the drawing interest, and after that whatever is the profit left over, this profit they distribute or they share between the partners. And finally you can talk about the statement of financial position, SOFP. So you can say the partners need to prepare the statement of financial position. So from the statement of financial position, you will be able to see the amount of asset and the liabilities. And top of that, here you have to include the current account and the capital account. So on the finance by section, for the partnership, that will be the combination of the current account and the capital account. So you can explain all of this and that will give you the full mark. So the question will tell you exactly, the question said like someone have no knowledge with the partnership. So that means this person who is asking, he don't have any information about the partnership. So you need to explain everything from the very beginning, from the scratch to everything. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next question we have, this is task 2.1, 25 marks question. Said you are Sarah Jane Smith, a part qualified accounting technician. You work for Winter Co., which manufacture and install bathroom. You you cover all aspects of the bookkeeping and the accounting for the business. You report to Emma Nisam, the chief finance officer. Today's date is 15th of October 2001. Emma has asked you to do some break-even analysis based on the budgeted figure for the next quarter. Forecast sale are 5,000 unit. Sales price is 300. Cost figure are as follows. So we have a direct material, direct labor, assembly, and the installation. So this is basically the cost: direct labor, assembly, and installation. So forecast seller 5,000 and the sales price is 300. 60% of the assembly cost and the 80% of the installation costs are variable. So that means from the assembly, if 60% is variable, that means 40% is the fixed. And for the installation, they said 80% is the variable, that means 20% will be fixed. Emma told you the company targeted profit margin is 30%, margin of safety is 30%, and the target profit is 140. Okay. Then after that, they said download the spreadsheet, and after that we have some requirement. Let's read the requirement. What we have here: open the name. So basically asking open to the Excel file. After that, enter the direct material variable cost, then calculate the variable cost, then calculate the variable cost per unit. Then we have calculate the contribution per unit using the budgeted sell price, calculate the fixed cost, and calculate the break-even analysis, break-even point, contribution to sales ratio, calculate the margin of safety, calculate the margin of safety percentage. Then we have calculate the volume of sales needed to achieve the target as a target profit. Then we have to check and see everything is okay. So obviously this question looked big, but it's a very, very simple and easy question, to be honest. All you need to know, we need to know some formula from the CBP analysis. So if you know the formula, this question will be really easy for you. This question from the management accounting, and obviously this will be the part of your CBP analysis. So let's write it down some formula, because we need to know this formula in order to answer this question. So the first thing we're going to write, that is the contribution. How to calculate the contribution? Contribution. So contribution means selling price. So selling price minus variable cost. So selling price minus variable cost is the contribution. Number one. Number two is break-even unit. Break-even unit. So that is fixed cost over contribution per unit. Fixed cost over contribution per unit. Now the break-even have a two thing. One is the unit, one is the value. So one is break-even sell, BEP sell. So one is break-even unit, one is break-even sell. So that will be your fixed cost over CS ratio. Fixed cost over CS ratio. Now what is the CS ratio? Number 4. So let's talk about the CS ratio. The CS ratio is contribution to sales ratio. CS ratio, contribution to sales ratio. So the contribution will come in the top. So contribution, and the sales will be in the bottom. Sales. So contribution will be on the top and the sales will be in the bottom. CS ratio. Then number 5, we have target profit. Target profit. So target profit will be fixed cost plus target profit over contribution per unit. Fixed cost plus target profit over contribution per unit. Then we have our margin of safety, that is MOS. Margin of safety. Margin of safety is the budgeted sell minus break-even point, BEP. Budgeted sell minus break-even point. And the final one is margin of safety percentage. This one you can do MOS over budgeted sell times 100. That's it. So if you remember all of these formulas, this question will not be very easy, difficult for you. It's going to be very, very easy. And top of that, few calculation, like 60% is the variable, 40% is the fixed, then 80% is the variable, 20% is the profit, the fixed. So you can do that. All right, so let's move on to the question. Let's open it. Then we'll see what we have there. So let's open the Excel file. So we can see this is our Excel file, and that's quite a simple question. It's not going to be difficult as well. So let's do this one. First, we do the revenue. So the revenue from the question have to be the question in front of you, of course, like 5,000 unit, and 300 is the sales price per unit. So let's multiply that, and that will give me the revenue 1500,000. That's my revenue. And we have a direct material, direct labor, assembly, this cost from the quotient. So if you have a quotient in front of you, you'll see that, of course. But as I said, like we cannot share the two screen at the same time. So you have to follow from the book or from something like if you have a two screen computer, you can practice that. But in the exam, make sure you have the two screen for the synoptic exam. Then the direct labor 200,000, that's from the quotient. Then we have assembly 180, that's from the quotient. Then 360 for the installation. Then total variable cost, if I add all of this, that will give me the total variable cost. That will be 1140. Then after that, variable cost per unit. So if I divide with the number of unit, that will give me the variable cost per unit. So I said this, divide 5,000. So this will give you the variable cost per unit. After that, contribution per unit. So you know the formula, sales minus variable cost is the contribution. So your contribution per unit is 72. After that, the fixed cost, if you remember the fixed cost, 20% from the installation, and I think another one from the assembly is 40%. So assembly is 120. This is your fixed cost, and installation you have 90,000. Total fixed cost, if I added this two, that will give me the total fixed cost 210. And after that, we can do the break-even point. Now the break-even point is fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. So you can say that's my total fixed cost, divide contribution per unit, that is 72, and that will give me the unit for the break-even point. So then you can do the revenue. Break-even revenue is quite simple. All you need to do, you need to multiply with the sell price. So that's your unit, and you have to multiply with the 300. 300 was the selling price per unit, so that will give you the total revenue for the break-even. Then you have a CS ratio, contribution to sales ratio. So this is basically contribution over sales. So our contribution per unit is 72, and the sales is 300. So that will give you 24. Margin of safety. The margin of safety is the difference between the budgeted sale and the break-even unit. So we said the budgeted sale is 5,000 minus the break-even unit is this. That will give you margin of safety, and the margin of safety percentage. So we can do this one, margin of safety over the budgeted sale, that is 5,000. This one normally show in a percentage, so you can always do the percentage if the question said. And after that, the targeted profit. Target profit is like fixed cost plus target profit, and over the contribution per unit. So let's do that. If I remember, the targeted profit was, let me open the question, that was 140,000. So we said fixed cost is 210 plus target profit 140 over contribution per unit. that is 72, and that will give you the targeted profit. So what is the target profit volume we need? So obviously, like all this thing we are doing, this is based on the formula. If we change the formula, if we know the formula, this type of question will not be very difficult at all. So if they want to see the volume, if they want to see the price, you can always change that, because if they give you the unit, and if they want to know what is the value of that, you always multiply with the sales value. So I would say like this question obviously like depends on what type of requirement you have in the exam. So if the requirement is change, you need to change your answer as well. But if you know the formulas, so it will be really easy for you. So to calculate all of this. All right. So this is all we have done for that, and obviously, like yes, you can use the bracket omit if you like. Obviously, you can do the bracket. So if you do the bracket, so that will give you more accurate answer. That's correct. So let's close it. Yeah. Anyway, so obviously, like as I said, like the CVP question, if it is come to the exam, all you need to do, you need to remember the formulas, and if you know the formulas, your question will be really really easy. So that's it for the question number 2.1. So we have the next question, that is 2.2. Maybe I'll leave this one for your homework. You try this question yourself, and if you have any question, you can let me know to the next class. Maybe the next class we'll move to another question, to the new question, and we'll try that. So I'll leave this question for you for your homework. It's not very difficult. It's just like the ETB, that is your extended trial balance. So all you need to do, you need to adjust the figure. So there is nothing like formula you have to use. Very few formulas like you have to use here. So they will give you a extended trial balance quotient, and from there, all you need to do, you need to find like what is the adjustment, and based on the adjustment, you need to say which one goes to the profit and loss account and which one goes to the balance sheet. So of course, if this is type of question come, obviously like you can try yourself. So this ETB question, let me tell you, ETB question, ETB, in this question they'll give you some ledger balance. So ledger balance, and after that they'll give you some adjustment, and after that they will tell you it will go to the profit and loss account or it will go to the balance sheet. So they'll give you all this figure here, 1 2 3 4, they'll write it down everything, like the bank purchase. They'll give you all the entries here, and from here you need to check the adjustment. You do the adjustment, and after that you move it to profit and loss account or to the statement of financial position. This question we have done on the advanced bookkeeping paper. I hope you remember that. If you don't, obviously you can always go back to your book, you can try yourself. But I would say like this is very simple question, you can check yourself. All right, so obviously the next bit is for the conditional formatting omit. So this is just making the color. So I showed this one before, so it's not something is very difficult. All right, so next week we'll open another new question and we'll see like how can we practice more. So this one, I'll leave this one for your homework. Maybe you can try yourself, and if you have any question you can email me or you can ask me to the next class question. So we will finish our lesson today here, and the next week we'll start with another new question from the question bank, and I'll send you some more mock exam question that will be helpful for all of you if you're planning to do your if you're planning to do your synoptic in March. So If you are planning to do it March, let me know. I'll send you some more exam, like mock exam question. That will be also helpful for your revision. All right. So if you have any question, you can ask me now, or we can finish here today.